In this video, I'm going to go through and create my own little dream house. I'm using this floor plan that I've drawn out for what I would love to have as my house. And for my house, for the most part, what I want to have is I want all the rooms and stuff on the sides, and I want a courtyard in the center that has a tree growing out of it. And in that tree, I want to put a spiral staircase leading up to a tree house, which is pretty dynamic, but I've already collected some of the pieces that I need. You can see that based off of my floor plan, all I need is some clean squares and maybe a secondary square to come out as the garage. I took a picture of a house that I'm going to use so that it fits into this environment. And we can see once I turn off some of the other things, such as the floor plan, that this little house is going to sit nestled kind of right in the center of my place, but I need to clear out some of the trees. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of cleanup and extending of the top by cutting and pasting, by using a little bit of the brush tool, and also using the spot healing tools and clone stamp tools to remove some trees and to move some trees. So I'm going to get my house all set up in the place that it needs to be, and then I'll show you guys how to add different textures to fill in the walls so they feel like they're not just these blank white walls of the original design, but they'll start to look like wood or tile or other variety of things in my scene. So I'm going to speed up the video now. And so there we go. That was very complicated, but I put together a fair amount of things. And if I had to do this over again, I probably would have chosen a couple more simple things to work with. But you know me, I like to give myself a challenge. So come up with the house that you want and stay true to your original floor plan as much as you can. You can kind of see that when I turn off, or put my floor plan on the very top, you can see that I have almost everything that I planned for. I have a square place with an outside attachment for a garage. I'm going to put a fence in eventually, but then I put that tree with the tree house on the top with a platform. So have some fun with it. Give yourself some challenges. The next things that you guys are going to need to do is to start making these houses look less like 3D models and more like actual textured and rendered things. So we're going to take these step by step and start putting these things together. First thing that you guys are going to need is to do some collection of different materials and consider what do you want on your house. For my house, I have started to already put these together into their own folder of resources and materials. So you can see that I have my little folder right here, and I already collected a bunch of things and gave names to everything. I'm going to have some fun with this, and I'm going to light up the place with these little lamps. So I need to crop out all the backgrounds to the lamps and all the things that I'm not using. I'm going to have a spiral staircase lead up to the treehouse. I need to add a garage door to the garage. I have all these green windows to put around the house so that it matches my beautiful green door that I also need to crop out. And I'm going to build the house out of dark wood panels as well as some light wood panels. And the ceilings, or the roofs, are going to have these blue Japanese ceramic tiles. If I decide that I want to change the colors of any of these, You should do that before you put things together. But what we're going to do is we need to start considering where we're going to be putting things and how we're going to do stuff. So I think I'm going to start out with creating a kind of a, I don't know, I think light wood wall. And then I'm going to create a dark wood wall. And I like my the wood running vertically in my designs. So what you're going to need to do is when you find your images, try to find ones that are shot dead on. Don't find ones that are crooked like this unless you're willing to spend the time to straighten them out. And I'm probably going to have to straighten out and crop that just a little bit. So with my plank of wood, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a duplicate of this by dragging it into the new layer so I have a copy. So I always have the original wood design that I want to use. Now, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to start making paneling. And I'm going to start trying to make a simulation of long wooden panels. So I'm going to get my move tool and I'm going to move it around a little bit. And I want to rotate this. I want the wood to be vertical. If you hold shift, notice how it moves in angles. That can always be helpful. So I have my wood panel. I like that. And I am going to start building out my designs. So if I can copy and paste this, or on my move tool, I can press Option and then move my paneling aside. And I'm going to start making wood paneling. And that matches up pretty good, except for that little edge. So before I am finished with merging these two layers together, I'm going to get my eraser and I'm going to lower the opacity a little bit and soften the edge just a bit so that I can make a better transition between my two wooden areas. There we go. And I can control click my two layers in the layers palette. Not control click. Control click is right clicking. Now I can use command and I can click those two layers that I created and then use right click or control click. And I'm going to merge those two layers together. So now that those two layers are merged together, I can start changing and altering them. And I think I'm going to start, I want longer panels to fit the side of my house. So I'm going to warp these a little bit. I'm going to make them a little bit smaller. And goof around with that. And I'll duplicate things again to make them taller. And that's pretty good. Not 100% the best, but from far it'll look all right. And if I spend a little bit of time changing over to actually, what am I on there? Soft edge eraser, I can kind of remove some of that hard edge that was there so that they look like they merge into each other just a little bit more. There's a little bit of discoloration, but not terrible, especially when we start putting it onto our tiny little walls. So I'm going to merge those two layers again. And now I have my wood layer that I can start adding to different parts. So I'm going to show this really quickly, but I'm going to use my design from the house to start adding my wood in. So I'm going to hide the wood layer for right now. I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to focus on the garage wall for just right now. So I'm going to move over to either I can use a lasso tool or pen tool to select the entirety of the wall, but since my wall is completely clear, I'm just going to use the magic wand tool so it selects everything right there. And I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it. Then I'm going to move it just below my wood layer, and I'm going to create a clipping mask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select on the wood layer. I'm going to use Control Click, and I'm going to come down to Create Clipping Mask. Now notice how there's this little arrow, and it's showing me that this is clipped to this layer. And I probably should rename these later so I know exactly what they are and maybe put them into different folders. But what that does is it allows me to create a section that that shows only what I want it to in that part. So you can see, even though I'm moving the wood around, the wood is not going to show anywhere besides where my little section is of that side of the wall. And I can move that section as well. And I can change the size, and I can warp things that way or move it around. And it'll show the wood everywhere where that entire layer is. That can be really cool for creating effects like things that exist in splatters of paint, or for what we're doing, creating paneling of wood. So I created this design, and I'm now going to transform the wood paneling and make it a lot smaller so that it feels like it fits this design. And I might have to create and re-merge things, but you can see that it's starting to feel more realistic. Something that I might have to do is I might have to skew the side of my wood paneling so it seems like it fits the design a little bit better. So I would come up to Edit, Transform, and then use something like Distort or Skew. And you can see that I'm now changing the wood so that it's more or less using those same angles of my house. I'm going to move this over, and you can see that it's working out pretty well. Still, I want to say that this is a little bit on the large size for what I want, but it makes me pretty happy. So I like that a lot, and I think I'm going to make this more and then start adding on to my entire design. And let's finish out this side of the garage. So we'll make some more of these wood panelings. And you can see this is significantly more difficult to match up the wood when they're all skewed like this. So I would suggest making your shapes and things all before you put them together. But you can see that I've created a whole bunch of different layers, and they're all clipped to that one. I think I might want to merge these all together to make it more simple. So I just have one wood paneling clipped to the side of the house, and that looks pretty good. Then what I want to do is maybe I'm going to go through and I'm going to trim out my garage door and then put it onto the side of that house. We'll do this for all such things as making fences, making the roof tilings, and all other textures that you might want. Come up with a couple ones, but make it look like they work together and make it look good. So now I'm going to speed up the video so you can follow the rest of my process as I finish out, edit, and make my house look more like a house. And so there we have it. A house in a tree house, all built from scratch, all with new textures and materials, windows, doorways, and all other sorts of interesting things, and a couple of neat things that I threw in there just because I thought it was fun. So, go ahead and make yours and try to come up with interesting things. If you have unique ideas that you're not sure of quite how to do, feel free to ask me and I'll give you a couple of tricks. As you noticed, I used a whole lot of digital painting throughout the entire scene, and I still think I might create sun rays or other things spilling in from the top part. But who knows? That's for extra things that you guys don't need to watch any more of. If you're curious on how to make light rays or extra lights in your scene, I have another video attached later.